this is a vlog about knitting. Since this is the first vlog, I thought I would spend some time just talking about what this vlog is and who I am. So I'm not an independent designer or a yarn dyer or a spinner or anything along those lines. I'm not trying to build up a public profile for a startup business of mine. I have a day job. Really, sometimes it's more of a day and nights and weekends job. But knitting is my hobby, and I really like spending a lot of my free time, the free time that I do have, knitting. And I think a lot about knitting, even when I'm not. And I've been knitting for a few years now, but I'm still very much learning about knitting, about yarn, about everything. So that's partially why I wanted to start this vlog. This is a little bit of an experiment in learning out loud. And I sort of hope that it's okay for me to be vlogging, even though I'm not trying to be a professional in the fiber arts. So why am I vlogging then? Like I said, this is partially an experiment in learning out loud, but I've actually been pretty interested in the vlogging format for a bit. A few years ago, I was blogging pretty actively about other topics, and I felt like I really found a voice there, and I'm kind of curious whether I could find a similar voice while vlogging. And to be honest, knitting is the first topic I've had that I felt like could be vlog worthy. Like I said, though, I am not trying to be a professional in the fiber arts, which is partially why I've given this vlog a slightly silly name. I'm not trying to be anonymous by any means, but I'm not going to talk much at all about my personal life or my day job. I'd like to keep that separate. This is very much more for my knitting persona. And I also can't promise to keep to a regular schedule, which apparently is bad as far as vlogs go. And I'm also not running out to go start, a Ravelry group or anything associated with the vlog. If only because the free time that I do have tends to accordion. Sometimes I've got a normal amount, and sometimes I've got basically none. So I'm just saying this to set your expectation levels at the right level, which is low. So what will I be talking about? Well, obviously, I'm going to be talking about my ongoing experience in learning how to knit, things that I've learned, little techniques that are interesting. And actually, I think my next vlog is going to be about my journey in learning how to knit. And I also think I'll be talking a little bit about trends in knitting, at least as I see them, and my thoughts on them, and what I think is interesting or what I think is confusing. I think I might also, from time to time, cautiously talk about gender knitting too. It's a thing that you sort of can't not think about as a man who knits. Your relationship to gender and gendered hobbies is something that comes to the front of your mind quite often. So that's something I'll talk about now and then, cautiously, I'd say. And of course, maybe the occasional standard fares for any knitting blog, pattern and yarn reviews, maybe sometimes what's on my needles, and also showing off some of my finished objects. I think I'll have a greater emphasis on finished objects than I will what's on my needles, because while I am often very excited about what it is I'm currently working on, oftentimes I need to sort of stop and ooh and on and touch it, and it takes me a little bit longer to finish because I'm doing all that. But I feel like sometimes the only person who cares that much about what I'm doing is me. Finished objects are nice to look at, and you can ooh and ah at them and maybe go out and make one yourself. But what's on my needles doesn't actually look all that great until it's blocked, to be honest. So more of an emphasis on finished objects. So who am I as a knitter? Really, the best way to show that is through my finished objects, what it is I've made. we could start with this. So this is, oh, got hat here. Um, Harambe by Jared Flood. And I made it in Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. It's a really lovely uh, red sort of matte finish. And this is just a twisted stitch with some just some minor cabling. It's reversible. It looks a little bit different on the inside, which is also nice. But I prefer it with the uh, twisted stitches outwards. Another recent finished object for me is the Sunwick cowl from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival booklet. This is a design by Donna Smith, and I also made this in Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. The colorways are Thaw and Humpback, and this red matches the hat, left over from the hat. Alizarin, I think that's how it's said. Um, really lovely colorways. The Thaw, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, how well the color comes across. It's almost got this very light blue undertone, and it goes together very nice. And it's a wonderful pattern by Donna Smith. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I don't always do the best at color work, but I managed to do the stranding on the inside. You can see I messed up my yarn dominance there a little bit. It's a little bit over there, so you can't see. I managed my stranding pretty well on the inside, so I'm proud of that. Of course, if you go on to Ravelry and search patterns, there's like 1.5 million shawl patterns, triangular shawls, which I've made a few. So this is one I finished recently. This is Quicksilver by Melanie Berg, which is very nice. This blue in here is from Ginger Twist Studios. I'm not and the purple. I'm not sure what the lighter striping is actually. That was just in the stash and we lost the ball band. Very nice, sort of just ordinary garter stitch in the stripes, and a very simple sort of lace in the blue. And I've made this for myself. Even though it's maybe more intended as a garment for women. But you sort of have to get over that if you're going to knit as a man, because there's just not as many shawls or scarves designed for men out there. So you have to sort of make one of these and figure out how you want to wear it, how you want to style it. And this is how I've been wearing it lately. Now that we've got the spring weather coming in, I don't need it really tugged up against my neck. I make a little knot, and you can see the right side facing out there, almost like a tie of some sort with this coming around, which I think looks pretty good. I like it anyway. I also enjoy working on larger objects, larger garments. So here is Timberline by Jared Flood. It's a cardigan that I'll put on for you right now. So like I said, this is a Timberline by Jared Flood, and I made it in West Yorkshire Spinners Aran weight yarn, which is 75% wool, 25% nylon. And you can see I've done some color blocking there. That was my own decision. I like color blocking across the shoulders. Here's something I'm working on right now. It's going to be a shawl by Lucy Haig. This is one of the squares. It's multiple squares, and they're put together, picking up along the edges. It's a Celtic knot pattern. I don't think it's coming across too great, the different colorways. I'm making this in a Brooklyn Tweed loft, and here's another square in a slightly different colorway. It's a pretty intense pattern, some intense cabling going on in there, in two colors. So you get the two color Celtic knot pattern coming through there. It's a great pattern, and it's really wonderful looking at the different how the different colorways that are involved interact with each other differently. I've also been getting more interested in undyed or natural fibers, and I don't have as many finished objects to show off as far as that goes, but I can show off one of the skeins in my stash, which is from Daughter of a Shepherd. This is 100 gram skein. It's 75% Hebridean, 25% Zwarbles. I think that's how you say it. Hold this up here. It's got a bit of a halo on it. It's got a wonderful feel. And of course, the thing about these undyed natural fibers is the smell. It's interesting. Like I smell that, and I think it's really cool and interesting. I'm probably going to make gloves out of it or something. But of course, when I show this to other people and say, "Here, I got this," people who aren't knitters, look what I got. Have a smell, and they go, "Hmm." So that's desirable. It's one of those interesting things that we sort of only understand why that's desirable because we're in the hobby, and if we're not, then maybe it's less accessible to people who don't knit. So that's me. That's some of my finished objects. You maybe have a sense of who I am as a knitter now. And hopefully my future vlogs will also be of interest. Next time I'm going to be talking about how it is that I learned to knit and what some of the steps along that journey were for me. All right, see you everybody.